Hi everyone, my name is Chris Chandler. I'm the Curator of Natural Science here at the Putnam Museum, and I'm welcoming you to our Birds and You exhibit at the Putnam. One of the things we're often asked about this exhibit is why did we do it in the first place? And it all is due to a recent report that came out in 2019 that explained that in the last 50 years we've pretty much lost something like 3 billion birds in the United States. That's 1 in 4 birds, and it's not just weird exotic birds, it's the birds you see every day at your feeders and around your house. It's quite a frightening statistic. So we wanted to talk about the things that we could do, what people could do, to help keep the birds with us, that we wouldn't lose them all. So one of the interesting things we do with this exhibit is we're not just talking about the gloom and doom of, yes, that's a terrible statistic, but it's also talking about what we can do to preserve our birds and what we can do as individuals. So we're going to go and look at some of the things we have around the exhibit to help you look at some of the possibilities of things we can do. One of the things I like to show first, of course, is that we have, because we're an old enough museum, we actually have passenger pigeons in our collection. And if you're familiar with the passenger pigeon, it's an extinct bird from North America. Basically, it's these beautiful pigeons. They're very iridescent, very gorgeous looking up close. They actually used to exist in the millions, possibly billions in the United States and North America. And within probably about 200 years of us starting to shoot them and to take away their habitat, they became extinct. It was one of those things where people thought, my gosh, there's so many of them, how would they ever go extinct? Well, we found out we could easily do that. And that's sort of like what we're talking about for this exhibit, is that these are birds that are going, that we are losing, that are everyday birds that you see them every day. So what we don't want you to be is complacent about it, that they need our help, and so that's what we're going to try and do with this exhibit. So one of the aspects of this exhibit is discussing the things that we can do as individuals or as groups to help birds. Things that you can do to prevent birds from ending up dying unnecessarily. So some of the things you might think of, it's pretty simple. It's like, how do you prevent birds from hitting your windows? Well, there's all sorts of things you can put in your windows to keep birds from actually hitting windows. Other things you can do is learn about birdscaping, which is basically making your landscape less like a golf course and more like what it would look naturally. So planting natural plants or something that you might do. It doesn't take a lot, actually, to help birds. Even things like not raking your yard up and getting rid of your leaves. Just leave the leaves on the ground or bank them somewhere, because those leaves actually in the winter help keep the insects alive that the birds like to eat. So there's all sorts of things you can do. Some fun things we did, actually, it's kind of reminiscent of what we used to do at the Putnam, is that we asked people to send in, loan us birdhouses. So we went for both whimsical and practical, and we have some really fun ones here. There's things made out of gourds. There's one made out of an old boot even. I'm not sure. The boot, I actually know, has been used by birds, because the person who loaned it told us that they had to clean it out before we got it. But it's also reminiscent of things we used to do when we were the Academy of Natural Science, the Davenport Academy of Natural Science here in Davenport. The picture in the background is actually from an early birdhouse contest they did in the early 1900s, which I thought it was kind of a great backdrop for what we were doing now. So you can do things like birdhouses. There's things, basically birds need what we need. It's food, shelter, and water. So, you know, having a bird bath is great. Putting out a feeder is great. We talk about different types of food that different birds like. And then also the idea of building shelters for them. One of the interesting things I learned that I didn't know at the time when I first started looking into this was that most birdhouses, you really don't want to perch on it, because most birds can manage without the perch, and the perch actually gives different animals that might be attacking birds a chance to get into their birdhouse. So all sorts of interesting things you learned that you didn't know before. So a few other things you can do to help save birds in your area is, one simple one is keep cats indoors, because cats actually, even though a well-fed cat often will go after a bird, and so we always suggest that you keep your cats indoors for the sake of birds. Avoid pesticides. Pesticides don't just kill the pests like the bugs, but they often get into the birds and cause issues. Everybody remembers the story of DDT, which was a pesticide used to, I believe, kill things like mosquitoes, and unfortunately it had a really bad reaction when it got into birds. The birds' eggs actually became so thin that they couldn't sit on the eggs. which is why it's banned in the US. Other possible things you might think about that you might not really know, things like if you have a grocery store, ask them if they have shade-grown coffee, because there's a really big difference between what shade-grown coffee, the habitat it develops, as opposed to when you have these farms where the coffee really has little or no habitat at all for birds. So things like that. One of the main things we like to promote here is getting up off the couch and doing something about it. So one of the cool things is, in this exhibit we talk a lot about being a citizen scientist. And with birds, that's one of the groups that there are all sorts of possibilities, all sorts of projects out there that you can join. Everything from the Christmas bird count that Audubon has done for, gosh, over 100 years now, to all sorts of things by other places. Like there's a bird feeder watch where you can literally just go and look out your window at the birds at your feeder and register what you find. Just last week, we had the Global Bird Day, basically, where they asked people to go out and just observe what birds they could see, and then you actually go to websites and you log in what you've seen. That gives people who study birds a lot better idea of what's happening to birds. That was one of the coolest things about the study that came out in 2019. They didn't just look at scientific documentation. They literally looked at everything, including all those bird counts from all these different years. They used radar. They did all sorts of things to actually come up with the large data set that they used. One of the things that we need to do if we're going to do a bird count, though, of course, is we need to be able to identify the birds. So that's one of the reasons in this exhibit we have a large selection of birds that are found here around the Quad Cities. So, and we have them set up so that they're set up by season, like when you're liable to see them, when you're probably going to see them in the wild, because obviously not all birds stay here all year. Some birds are here all year, some are just here in the summer, some are just here in the fall and the spring. So we have it set up so that in their cases that are set for how likely you are to see them. So the case I'm in front of, it has both winter and summer residents. The winter residents include things like the snowy owls, which, by the way, are really quite rare in our area here in the Quad Cities, but they come around enough that I actually felt that they should go in the case. And plus, everybody, anybody who's driving around really sees them when they see them. They're really obvious. So one of the more interesting cases I have here is set up to basically talk about how different birds have different colored plumage. And one of the interesting things about birds, of course, is that the males often are much more brightly colored and have greater feathers, more interesting feathers than the females. We have a male and female ringneck pheasant in here that you can see how she's kind of just a dull brown and he's got all those little big feathers. But the fun thing is, you always talk about this, is that it's a female choice when it comes to birds. So the females like to look at the prettiest male and say, he must be really healthy, and therefore he's going to be my mate, so I have really healthy chicks. But the problem is, it's not just the females who like those feathers. During the 1800s, there was this incredible craze for bird feathers on hats. And literally, hunters would go out and kill thousands of birds just to have it so women could have them on their heads. I've seen pictures not just of feathers on, but they literally would put a dead stuffed bird on a hat, which is just beyond me. I don't quite understand that. So one of the reasons we have the Migratory Bird Treaty in place that we do that helps protect birds is because we're trying to stop things like that, try to stop people from going crazy and shooting all these birds just for their feathers. There's another instance where feathers are quite the thing. Apparently in Victorian salmon flies, the flies you tie to catch your salmon fish, they used all sorts of crazy exotic birds. And there is now a black market in those types of bird feathers. Unfortunately, most of those birds are endangered or threatened, and therefore you can't get them legally. So there have actually been thefts at museums for places for people trying to get these feathers and use them. So in the Quad Cities, we're very lucky because we're actually sitting on the Mississippi River Flyway. It's basically the pathway that, you think of it, a highway going from the south all the way up into the Arctic, and you get birds that fly every year coming through, going to their breeding grounds in the north. So because we're on this flyway, we actually get to see lots and lots of birds that other people wouldn't see. We also, it's interesting with us, is that we're on just that edge of the Mississippi, so we're sort of like in between the eastern and western groups of birds, so we get a little mix of those too. But of course, because we're on the flyway, what we get a lot of is waterfowl, and So one of the fun things was getting out examples of all of our wonderful waterfowl, including things like the great blue heron that everybody sees, because they know it because even when you see it in flight, it's got such an interesting silhouette that you always know when you see it. And that was one of the things we like to do here is by having these animals out here for you to see, you'll have a better idea of what to look for if you're actually trying to identify birds.